A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Shawn C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Hi, welcome to A Most Horrible Library, the podcast where we talk about all things literary horror, from graphic novels to actual novels, and everything in between. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Shawn Charles Baker. We're here to talk about all that stuff. It's all awesome. And today we have a really awesome guest. So Andy Leavy,
who's going to be talking with us all the way from Dublin.
And his book Osaka Mime just came out through Behemoth. It came out on the 19th in the States, and it comes out this coming, what is it, the 26th in the UK and Dublin. And so without further ado, here is our interview with a writer whose book we think you should read.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
What's up, Andy?
How's it going?
Thanks for being on.
No problem.
So you are based in Ireland. Where are you at in Ireland, if I may ask?
So I live in Dublin,
Okay.
myself, but I'm not from Dublin. I'm from like an hour north of Dublin, a place called Loud. So that's
Okay.
where I am now because I'm visiting my parents.
Oh, nice.
I was in Dublin several times in the early 2000s. One of the times I stayed in Drumcondra, I think it was.
Oh yeah, Drumcondra.
Every time I meet somebody from Ireland, everybody knows Drumcondra, and I don't know why. It's bizarre.
It's just a well-known area.
Okay, I had some really bizarre experiences there. So, but it's good. But I love the country.
The mid 2000s was like the peak of Ireland, being like, because the country was really poor, and then it got really rich in the 90s, and then the mid 2000s was like when everybody, no matter what you were doing, you had too much money, and then just before the recession, so that's when the country was its wildest. Like,
oh well, I guess I timed that correct then. It was a good time.
Kids going to school when they're like 17 with like a fucking BMW or whatever.
Oh my god,
that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
we have a lot of that wealth disparity here in the States too.
Yeah.
Well, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, I've been meaning to make my way over there one of these days. See where my family came from, because they're from, I think, Wicklow.
Yeah, that's just beside Dublin.
Yeah,
it's just beside Dublin. The fun fact about Wicklow is the Wicklow Mountains is where gangsters get shot and buried.
Oh, really?
That's good to know.
That's where they'll take them up, like they'll drive them up like the Wicklow Mountain. So like Declan Shalvey wrote Bog Bodies.
Bog Bodies.
Yeah, that's what that's about. Like bringing people. He calls them the Dublin Mountains and the Wicklow Mountains are the same range of mountains. They just change the name because they go over the county. That's like exactly like what happens in that book is exactly what actually happens in Ireland.
I think he even has an afterword, maybe where he talks about. I was just thinking about that book because he's got a new book that just came out, Time Before Time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I read that and I'm like, I got to read Bog Bodies again because I read it the day it came out. But I mean, I read so much, and I don't know, the last year has been so bizarre. It's like I'm like, I remember like a basic setup, like that they dump a body, but I'm like, I don't remember anything else.
So it's basically like your guys' version of like the Las Vegas desert.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So yeah, those are interesting. Those are always thin areas. There's a place by where I grew up on the south side of Chicago. There's a cemetery there called Bachelor's Grove. Like if you Google it, I'm not suggesting you do. I'm just saying it's like one of the most haunted places ever. And I mean, when you see it, it's like a small cemetery from the late 1800s late 1800s, early 1900s just in a fucking forest preserve. So you got to walk into the woods to get there. But there's a little pond, and all of this was unincorporated in the 20s. And I don't know if it's ever been proven. I feel like it's accepted fact, but as far as if it's actually been proven, Capone would just, kill people and drop them there in this pond next to this cemetery. So yeah, it's, all kinds of crazy.
Along with his tax paperwork.
Yeah, drop that in there as well. Yeah.
Oh man.
While you're killing this guy, drop this file out there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Multitasking in the 20s.
Yeah. That's how you get.
So Andy, first of all, Osaka Mime.
Yeah.
Now I believe for the listeners, so this will air on this coming Monday. We always, we drop them on Monday morning because it's apparently the best time. But so last Wednesday, I believe, is when it was actually like available, correct? It like hit the stands or
yeah, it came out on the 19th, so it'll be Wednesday the 19th.
Okay, so it should be available now. Can you take us through? I think this was originally kickstarted.
Yeah, so it was picked up by Behemoth. I pitched it to them, and at the time Behemoth had just started out, so they were kind of like, if you don't have the money to like kind of create a whole book, you should Kickstarter it and we'll help you. Like back then when they had the time, they could help out and help run it. So it was Kickstarter just to help with the cost of the art. Really, it was nothing else, like the art and the lettering, obviously. So yeah, there was 1,000 copies printed. So I think like 140 went to Kickstarter people, and then 860 were sent out to. Were sent to like Diamond to like distribute, and that's sold out at the distributor level. So they are in stores. I also tell people.
Very nice.
I have to tell people that when they're like, "Oh, I see your book sold out," and I was like, "Yeah, if for me it's sold out, but like if you can still get it, like it still exists. Like it's just no other copies can be ordered by a shop, pretty much."
Right. Okay. So now you reference. And like honestly, part of this is I mean, I definitely like, I just want to know about the book and your process, but I also don't know a lot about that, the comics, even though I've been reading for, I don't know, I mean, forever. But so when you say you had to kickstart to pay for the lettering and the art, so did you have like an artist that you were like, hey, let's do a book, and you figured this out, or did you write it and then find an artist?
So I wrote the script just in my spare time, because I have a day job. Like I just would write the script after work, and then initially I was like, I should find an artist first and then write the script. But then I was like, it's better to have the script first. So then I just posted on literally a Facebook group. I always say that like Facebook is like shown to be like the worst social media website, but I actually found like an unbelievable
it can work.
Like, yeah, it can work. Like there's good communities out there if you look, like, and there was connecting comic book writers and artists, or connecting comic book creators, something along them lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put up like essentially a job posting, like looking for an artist, could do like needs to be able to enjoy horror or whatever. It will be in black and white, so if you've done black and white before, that'll be a plus. And it initially started as a competition. It was like in a competition, and script, the first 8 pages of script got sent to this competition, and then they picked 5 of those to draw the 8 pages. So the 8 pages had been, you can find them online somewhere. If you look for, I think it's Irrational Comics pitch 2018. It's there, and the winner of that competition would get published by this Irrational Comics or this small publisher. But then the rest kind of had this proof of concept. So I had those 8 pages that I could show to the artist, be like, to kind of help them along the way. But yeah, I didn't have anyone in mind. I just kind of put out that, kind of put a feeler out there to see if anybody was interested. And a lot of people are interested, like, like
That's cool.
That group, that's a big group, like, and people are, artists, even good artists sometimes struggle to get work. It just doesn't come together for them. So a lot of people will apply, like, so yeah, if you're starting out as a writer and you don't know where to find an artist, that's where you'd look, because you can find, like, I got sent some art that, like, wasn't great, but I was sent some amazing art. Like, it came down to like 5 people. I didn't know who to pick, and
Wow.
I think I made the right choice with Hugo.
I think you did.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
not having seen the others, but what you have is awesome.
Yeah, and then we put the 8 pages together for a pitch, and it sent it around to different comic book kind of publishers, and Behemoth seen it and they liked it. I don't even, like, most comic publishers will even say they don't even, chances of them even getting to your pitch is low. So
Yeah.
I hear it back from 2 other publishers that were like, not really for us, not really what we're looking to do. And then Behemoth were the complete opposite. They were like, this is exactly what we're looking to kind of do.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, so it just came together really well. I just had a quick call with the 2 guys and hit it off really well with them, and that's when we kind of planned for the Kickstarter. And yeah, so once the money was in, Hugo could just get to work on it.
So Hugo, I mispronounce everything, so I'm just going to say that up front. Hugo Araujo.
Yeah, people always say that I worked with a Brazilian guy at the time, and I asked him, and then I live with a Brazilian guy now, and I also asked him, did my pronunciation sound right? And he was like, it's good enough for an English speaker. It's Araujo. So,
Araujo. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Hugo Araujo.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be Araujo if it was Spanish, but Brazilian, the Portuguese, they pronounce a few more of the letters, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I know that's what I learned. Like, they pronounce their J's in Portuguese, but they don't in Spanish. It's like a H, like a
right.
So like
Okay.
So like Jose and Jose. I only know that because of the football manager, Jose Mourinho. He was like, it's not Jose Mourinho, it's Jose Mourinho. If you were from, if I was from Spain, it would be. So I always try to remember that whenever I see like a J in a Brazilian name. I'm like, I think I'm supposed to pronounce that.
That's funny. It's like I ship internationally at work a lot, and we ship to Brazil periodically, and like there was a newer guy I was like showing the process to, and he like included like Spanish documents. I'm like, oh, I'm like, first of all, it's Portuguese, but secondly, just don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it was, the most people have gone with, I think it's Araujo. Now I could be wrong. I've never actually asked Hugo how to say his name. So if I'm wrong, if a Brazilian hears this or a Portuguese person hears this, you will be right, and I won't be, but that's what I've been telling people.
Well, I mean, and if anyone out there hears this and wants to correct us, I feel like I'm always open to correct. I just assume
exactly,
like, I mean, even I'm like, is it like when I'm looking at your name, I'm like, is it Andy? Sometimes, when I met Chris, I'm like, is it Chris? Like,
I'm Irish, like, so I have to correct names a lot of times.
I always make the joke with my name because it's spelled Shawn.
Yeah.
So, I'm always like, Shawn, or and then, how's it spelled? Like, and I say, like, my Irish friends say the wrong way, because it's the wrong, it's literally not the right way to spell it.
Because Shawn, the Irish Shawn, it's John. It's the Irish short name for John. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, well, see, you guys just started. You need to start just putting some extra umlauts in your name just to really fuck with people.
Just really go wild with it, like.
Oh my God. So okay, so and then also credited on the book is Rob Jones, who did the lettering, correct?
Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
So
he's a great letterer.
Yeah, I mean, dude, everything. So give us your like pitch for the book. So people out there that don't know, I feel like the cover art sells it
Sells it, yeah.
immediately. It's like a combination of like Slender Man and the Izzes from the Max from back in the day. I don't know if that is a reference that people will get, but like this inky, creepy, shadowy fucking creature. Man, I love that cover image. It's just and in like a schoolgirl uniform with like its head turned backwards. It's just so fucked up.
Pretty fucking visceral, like.
Yeah. But so what give us your pitch for it. Like tell people what it's about.
Yeah, I'm brutal at these kind of things, but I'll give it a go.
I am too, don't worry about it.
So Osaka Mime is based in Osaka, obviously in like a modernized fantasy world. So a world of fantasy with goblins and orcs and elves, but they play PlayStation and go to work like anyone else. Like,
yeah, they live among us, right? It's not really a thing.
Yeah, it's just a regular thing. Nobody ever references or anything like that. And there's also monsters in this world. So you've got your like werewolves and vampires, and the titular monster is a mime, which is just like a shadowy figure. There's no other features but a smile. And if it kills you, it can take your form. Once it eats you, like it has to eat, it can't just kill you. If it kills you and eats you, it can take your form and turn into you. So the story follows two detectives who are from the supernatural unit of the police department in Osaka, and they are hunting this mime. And that's kind of the whole intrigue, is that they are, they're very skilled at what they do, but the mime can just continue to change into different people, and they can't really investigate it as they would like a usual investigation.
So you're two detectives. You've got
Yanada
and Kotaro. I think I'm saying that right, but again, probably not.
Yeah, Kotaro. Yeah.
And so we kind of come into the story through Kotaro in a way because he's new to the supernatural unit. And he's assigned to work with Yanada, who's kind of notorious. And I gotta, like, the first time I saw him, I'm like, I got a serious John Constantine. Like, not
he does have
too
that
much.
kind of look to him. Yeah. No, he definitely has that kind of look.
And he's
very
the seasoned
loose ties,
shirt untucked.
He's been doing this for a while. He has that little bit of jadedness about him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're going for. Like.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it almost has like the buddy element to a degree too.
It's like the buddy cop thing. Like someone wrote a review of it, and it's not. I didn't actually have it in mind when I did it, but now I do. I'll like always mention it to people, because I think people, if you tell someone, oh, this is like it's something that you like, they'll go and pick it up then. But people are like, oh, it's a bit like kind of Men in Black in a way, because you have the character who's kind of new to the world, and then you have the kind of grizzled vet who just does it, sees it do, kind of does things with ease, and has no emotion when he's doing it. But
yeah, right.
See, I was almost thinking it's like Training Day meets Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Dude, that's pretty good.
Because Yanada will kind of he's not a full dirty cop, like, but he will go out outside the lines if he needs to.
Yeah. So he's a what would you call that then? He's a bad lieutenant with a heart of gold.
Yeah, kind of thing.
I guess.
Yeah.
Except
he's good way to put it.
He's more interested in breakfast than he is like, chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
So, if we're making the bad lieutenant references.
Wants to have a bit of food.
Yeah. So I don't talk more about anything you want to tell us about the story. I mean, I loved it. I loved your world. I loved what you did with werewolves and vampires, especially.
Yeah. No, the vampires was it was kind of the reason, like, even if they're spelled differently, it was kind of to differentiate them from actual vampires. So so they're these like kind of bat monsters. But there is like we're actually even working on a follow-up now. It's really early days.
That was going to be one of my questions, because after binging this entire book, I got to the end and I'm like, all right, when's the next one coming out?
Yeah.
So I want to see more stories in this world.
We're definitely working on a follow-up in the world. Like, we'll stay in Osaka as well to kind of keep it local for now. And in that world, like, it's very early. We're still working with ideas, but there will be like they'll be chasing like an actual vampire, and that's so like a more of a human kind of character. So it's kind of to differentiate them that there is these kind of monstrous vampires that don't really think and don't really have a brain, but there is the more kind of intelligent kind of classical, I guess, vampire you'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, so more like the traditional vampires versus like a revenant or something kind of like that. Where it's just a more feral, more savage.
Yeah, they kind of have they're based like the vampires like that. They're based off like I think like a lot like I don't even know where, like I know I've seen it in American Vampire in Volume 2. There's like the original vampires are like they're kind of the weaker vampires, but they're like these like big beasts.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of movies have kind of done that where the guy will sometimes turn into this kind of big bat monster, and I've always kind of liked that. I've always thought that that's fucking like that actually scares me. Like vampires rarely actually scare me; they're more kind of cool. But like the bat monsters are usually like they'll stand out as like this is dangerous.
Yeah, well, I mean the classic, you know, your Christopher Lee or as I prefer Gary Oldman or Bela Lugosi. I mean, really, when you kind of think about it, what's the worst that can happen is if he bites you and you become a vampire. I mean, you got to kill people, but you live forever. Whereas if one of these feral monsters
just tear you apart, like
it's going to tear you apart. And even if you do come back, you're just going to be a feral fucking monster. So there's really no plus side at all. Like, oh, I get to live forever as a monster.
Yeah, there's no winning with that one at all. I kind of really want to kind of show them as that like they're not blood sucking monsters. Like you come in and they're when you first see them, they're just tearing a carcass apart. Like they're just like savages. Like
I think I have to say it going through reading this, and I really do hope that this character does pop back up in the follow-up, or you know, I would be stoked even reading a spin-off about this character, Professor Darryl.
I enjoyed him. I just kind of when I started writing him, I was like, I feel like I wanted Janata to kind of have this link to the underground, but I didn't want it to be just the kind of trope of like a cop and a drug unit would have a drug dealer as their link,
right?
But he's not going to have a werewolf as his link or something like that. He's just going to have a Satanist or whatever. And as I was writing him, I was kind of like, he kept writing him with a British voice, so I was just like, this guy has to be from England. But because he's an elf, he can be so old that he's actually been in Japan for so long. Like, I enjoyed writing him as well. And actually, his scene is actually the scene that I enjoyed writing the most, even though it was like no action or anything. It was just kind of just conversation. But I enjoyed kind of being able to kind of build the kind of relationship between the two of them.
It's a good scene, dude. I mean, it really it fleshes out all three of those characters so much, because I just love the whole thing where it's like, you know, the rookie kind of like judges him, and then he's like, oh, what? So because I wasn't born here, I'm not, you know, you consider me an outsider when I've lived here for, you know, since before you were born, and I love this country. I mean, it was very rousing, and then the fact that they became
kind of friendly.
It was very
respect each other.
I
did kind of. I was really happy with that when it got back from Rob, like the letter. And because I think when you're reading something on a script, you're thinking, oh, this is brilliant, I'm great, or whatever. And then sometimes you get things back in the letter and you're like, that doesn't work at all, that looks terrible. But I think with this one, I remember being pretty happy with it, being like, I think that scene works well, and Hugo's art's brilliant in it. You know, he kind of conveys their emotions, kind of.
Yeah, totally.
Especially like Detective Naito, Kotaro Naito. He's kind of like, he shows him as being angry, and then he kind of shows him kind of smiling at the end as a more kind of. So I thought, Hugo's really good with facial expressions. I don't know how he's so good with them. Like even there's one later on. There's a scene later on where I just said that Yanada like lights a cigarette. I didn't like. I don't think I did. I don't remember saying anything about him smiling or anything, but they were kind of joking with each other, and there's kind of a close up of him smoking the cigarette, and he's got like a little cheeky smile on his face when he does it, and I was like, that's so much better than what I wrote. Like.
That's cool.
I really did appreciate the fact that this that the Satanists, that they weren't like that Anton LaVey generic 60s style
The circus,
faces
right?
of death. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
oh, are
legitimate.
you here for the blood orgy kind of thing?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, that very just, well educated, like, hi, come on
Yeah,
in.
we're just friends, or whatever. Yeah, because like I read into Satanism a lot, and like when I was younger, and then kind of learned that like, oh, these guys are just like a group of pals, like they're just like hanging out and kind of being friends and going to concerts
Mhm.
together and stuff. It's just like a group of friends, really. And I remember I know a couple of people who would probably say they are Satanists, and I remember at the time I asked one of them, there's two different Satanist churches. Which one is the one that's kind of like better than the other one? Because I didn't know. Because I think the Church of Satan, they've been a bit like weird or something. I don't know about it. So sorry if I'm offending any Satanists.
Yeah.
But I think they've had some bad takes or something in the past. And he was like, "Oh, you want to go with the Satanic Temple? They're usually better." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, the Satanic Temple, they're the ones who are pretty much all that they do is try to keep the government's religious like laws in check, basically.
Yeah.
Anytime these lawmakers try writing a law based on their religion, they're the first ones who are like, nope, we're suing you, you can't do that.
I remember because I remember I was reading up on them, and they were the one. This is actually the main reason, because that person told me you want to go to Satanic Temple, and I was like, I better just make sure. And I was kind of looking around, and they like showed up to the Westboro Baptist Church leaders like funeral, and like just were like done like a fake, like kind of like the ones that they did where they'd show up to like a soldier's funeral. And
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
God is glad this soldier's dead or whatever. They kind of did like a counter version of that, and I was like, yeah, fuck the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think Lucian Graves, the founder, didn't he perform like a gay marriage ceremony at
on like his
grave? Yeah.
I think so. I think something wild like that. Yeah,
That is
it's like
fantastic.
usually I'm not up for kind of disrespecting graves like that, but if it's the Westboro Baptist Church, it's allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the old adage? You reap what you sow.
yeah, totally.
Pretty much.
So.
Yeah, I really enjoy kind of putting the Satanists in there, and kind of just, yeah, as you said, not really doing blood orgies or whatever. Obviously, I put the kind of guy being christened by blood, but just baptized by blood. Just that was just for the humor of it, like. But yeah, I didn't really want to be doing any of that like satanic panic kind of stuff. I just kind of wanted
Yeah,
to do
right.
whatever.
Well, and so that like the one thing I remember, I discovered when I was much younger, when I was kind of looking into this stuff, is the idea that like Satanism has nothing to do with worshiping the devil. It's all about
At all. Yeah.
it's like nothing to do with it. It's all about worshiping yourself and like just, I mean, it actually, I feel like, well, to me, the basic tenet is always like, if you really look at, and I have no problem with Christianity. I was raised as a Lutheran to a certain, year, and then I struck off my own. I know people who are, no problem whatsoever. Whatever does it for you and makes you a better person, I'm fine. But if you really look at the demonization of Satan in the Bible, it's like, he's just the guy that shows up and is like, you can read a book and put on clothes. And because of that, he's the bad guy. Right. So it's like, I mean, all he did was say, you don't have to be stupid and naked, and he's the bad guy. Like, so what's that kind of say? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I was very, like Chris said, I was very heartened to see that, like the portrayal, and I loved the character. It's just a great scene.
Yeah, no, I like that as well. And the way kind of the capacity that he works in, there's like, he can always pop up in other things because he's like an expert in what he does, so he can just be called in, or they can just go to a lecture that he's at or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of these like little one-off characters that kept popping up in some of these scenes. The bartender, I really like the Minotaur bouncer.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think like it was just like when I was approaching things, and I was like, most of the background characters are going to be like human or elves or orcs, but try to be a little like, try to think outside the box with like background characters that have like a scene where it'll be talking or something. So yeah, I was just kind of thinking up of like something that makes sense, like a Minotaur or anything like that, or in one scene in a bar, there's like someone said it's like a Cthulhu type monster where it has like tentacles. He's like drinking a beer.
Oh
with
yeah, yeah.
tentacles. But I actually based him off Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean second.
That's what I got too. Yeah.
Because I loved that movie when I was a kid, and I remember thinking Davy Jones was like the best character design I ever seen. I was like, I need to have something like that. And it makes sense he'd be in a bar using his tentacles to drink a beer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so this book was it was what? It was about 80 pages.
Yeah, I think it's like 72 is the story. I think it's around that.
And just the sheer amount of world building that you were
Yeah.
able to manage within that many pages, you know, like seriously, like I was maybe 5 or 6 pages in, and I was just like, damn, this is like really fleshed out.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much by the time they got to Mama Jumo's American Diner,
Yeah.
you know, I was just like, oh wow, like good job.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think you need to like set like if you are going to be in a world where things are different, it needs to be set like quickly, like early on. You need to let people know that, because if someone's not into that, like they need to know to jump out earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
And if someone is into it, like they might look at the first 2 pages and be like, "Oh, cool, a monster book," and then they might flick through it a little bit more, and they're like, "Oh, wait, there's like fantasy elements to this book. I might take a look at this." Yeah, so I think you just need to do it early, and you can just stick characters in the background and do your best. Just kind of treat it like a regular world, and then just what would happen with humans, and then just put these characters into that situation.
Yeah.
What made you decide to set this in Osaka, Japan? What was like the inspiration for that?
Just like when I was in college, like college was when I got the idea for this. I was just like on a bus, like so I lived like a couple of hours away from. I went to college a couple of hours away from where I live, so the trip home was a bit long, and I let my mind wander. And I just remember letting that come. But I remember in college I got really like deep into watching more anime and kind of watching like Japanese movies, like strange Japanese movies if I got the chance, like and one of the most inspiring things for it was kind of Tokyo Ghoul, which is kind of where the name comes from. So it's like Osaka Mime, kind of a little nod to Tokyo Ghoul. I can't even remember why I picked Osaka. I just remember seeing like I could have just been like scrolling online looking at like cool places to go on holidays, and I remember seeing the Dotonbori district that was like this big like canal going up this really bright street. I remember thinking, I want to base it in Japan anyway, so and everyone bases their stories in Tokyo, especially people that aren't from Japan. Like Westerners are always sticking stories in Tokyo, so I was like, I'll just put it in Osaka. I'll just try to be the hipster about it and switch it up.
That's pretty cool, man. What was so is the mime a creature of your, like, did you invent that? Is that based on something else? Is it based on actual like folklore mythology? I'm unfamiliar. I
don't think it's any folklore, like, so like the shadowy like figure with just like a mouth, like I think people have used that design before, like that it stuck out to me like at the time. Like I don't feel like I feel like I've seen people use that before. But the shapeshifter who can take your form if it eats you, that I believe, like I'm not like, if someone else came up with that before, I've not seen it, like
okay.
But it was my idea, like, to do that. Like there were obviously, as I said, they were inspired kind of by the ghouls in Tokyo Ghoul, just the eating people part. But they're more kind of human in that, and that's kind of what that story is about, kind of more about like the humanity of these things that people think are monsters. I was kind of like, just make a monster out of this, and it made sense that if it's a shapeshifter, it could get your form if it ate you. Like.
Yeah.
So yeah, like cannibalistic monsters have always kind of scared me, so that was all something I was going to go with. And shadowy figures have always scared me because I used to have nightmares about them. So like, it made sense to put the two of them together.
That's awesome. So to shift gears for a second, I think this is you. Now I was looking for other things that you had written.
Yeah.
Do you have a no sleep, or had a no sleep story?
I do, yeah. And still have it. It still have no sleep account. Yeah.
Somebody left an old TV on my porch. It contained a horrible secret.
yeah. That's TV Head. Yeah, I did like a 4-part story. Yeah.
I started reading. I think I'm on the 3rd part. It
kind of loses steam towards the end. I like the first. I like the first one, and actually I think the 3rd one I like as well. But The fourth one I kind of just did because people want me to do it.
Right, right.
I'm not too big on it myself, but yeah, I like that series.
That's cool. Yeah, like for anybody out there that wants to find, so No Sleep is basically what, and I'm fairly new to it, but I mean, I
Yeah,
think I
it's
was
like yeah, it's kind of like creepypastas, but not like it kind of birthed itself from the creepypasta kind of genre, but it's like first-hand short stories that have to sound like the person has written it. That's something that's happened to them. You know what I mean? So like a
right,
horror
right.
story that can happen to you, like a serial killer has broken into my house. So there is rules. Like main character usually can't die unless it makes sense. So because it has to make sense that you have like that they have actually that you are that person, you sat down and wrote it. So even if you go into the comments, you have to play along in the comments. You have to like role play and pretend like you're the fucking you're the guy or whatever. Like so.
I was
like,
gonna say yours is really. I mean, I've read like a little bit here and there. I have been writing one off and on that I've never posted because I wanted to do the whole thing for like a couple years, and eventually maybe you actually kind of inspired me to kind of go back to it and dust it off. But you're like, I'm looking at the comments and you're like, yeah, I've gone this far, I got to keep going or whatever. I'm like, he's like still in person in the comments. That's awesome.
Yeah. My friend, TJ Lee, he's on No Sleep. He's like one of their most prolific writers on No Sleep. Anything he writes is just like front page of No Sleep, like immediately, or top of the page. So he's kind of like, I got a lot of tips from him. Like, you can even kind of see at one stage where my stories have started kind of getting more kind of upvotes because I was kind of playing along with the subreddit. Like, so he kind of gave me tips on like, you can't just, you have to kind of engage with the comments and stuff like that, and you have to, even if you don't like doing it, like you just have to play along, and it is kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah,
but yeah,
cool.
I've got a good few stories on there. TV Head is something that I enjoy, and a story that I'd like to come back to maybe in a printed form, or maybe as like I'd love to write it as like a game. I think it would work pretty well as a video game. There's a few stories on that I enjoyed. No Sleep's great fun. I've kind of used it to kind of practice my prose, I guess, because I never felt like my prose was too strong. So No Sleep was a nice place to kind of go and work on it, like, because people, they kind of care about what the story has in it. They don't really care about like how strong your prose is, really.
Right.
So you can kind of practice at it, like, and not worry about people calling you useless. you still will get mean comments, like, but it's a mostly positive place. So I actually haven't posted on it. The weirdest thing is, like, I always wanted to get top of the page, and then I wrote a story. I got over 3,000 upvotes and got to the top of the page, and then I just haven't written on it since. Like,
oh wow,
it's like a mental thing that, like, my mind was like, all right, that's done. Go focus on. It's just because I've been focusing on other stuff. Like, I do have ideas for No Sleep that I want to go back to. Like, I have like a little folder that I write them. So hopefully when I get some free time, I can go back to it, because it's a cool subreddit.
So what else? What else? Are you working on? Have you written? What else can we read from you?
Yeah. So most things I've written are on No Sleep. If you go onto my Reddit, is Midnight Author, but the final O, the O in author is a 0. And right. Midnight spelled wrong. It's
we'll put up links to this too,
yeah,
so people listening, it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, so if you look on the profile, I should have a pinned thing at the start that has a link to all my stories. So you should probably click on that pin because that will have like kind of stories that I've written and where you can find them. That's the best place to kind of find that stuff. If you go through because I have a pinned because I still use Reddit, like, but for like talking about like MMA and football and stuff like that. So you'd end up going through like comments of me fighting with people over football. So I think like you probably just rather just find the stories. But that's where most of my stuff is. Osaka Mime is my first real kind of published piece of work. Like, I had like a short story, like 100, like a drabble, like 100-word. It's called Forgotten Ones. Drabbles of Myths and Legends, I think it's called. It's published by Erie River. So I have one story. I have one story in that. The other drabbles in it are pretty cool. They're kind of like retellings of mythological beasts and stuff. I did like an Irish one. I have another one. Yeah, I have a website, andyleavy.com, where there's a link to another like 4-page comic I wrote, which shows up in some anthology. Go Southeast #2 is. I don't think that's published. I think you can only get it on Comixology. but that's like a 4-page kind of story following like kind of following a serial killer as he kind of like I was reading a lot of Ed Brubaker at the time, so I felt like I just had to like write some crime stuff, and I had this
Nice.
story. I had a story about like, do you remember the Kevin Smith character? Fucking, I don't know if you read like the Green Arrow and the Batman runs that he did, like Onomatopoeia, which like he'd like go around killing vigilantes. I always loved that character, so I kind of want my own version of that would go around killing vigilantes. I call them like regicide because that's if we kill royalty or whatever.
Nice.
So it's just him kind of explain, like it's just literally all like, I know some people hate when there's just loads of words in comics. It's basically one of those. It's just loads of words of him just kind of explaining what he does and why he does it, and then it kind of ends with him shooting a character, but it doesn't show him shooting it. It just kind of shows him pulling the gun out. So that was just kind of a 4-page thing I did for kind of practice. But yeah, Osaka Mime's my first piece of actual like published work that's
nice.
out.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, congratulations, man. It's
thanks a lot. Trying to work on other things, but fucking takes time, sadly.
yeah, we all like. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah.
all got day jobs, right? So
yeah, so the day job is really what takes it out of you. Like.
yeah. What like give us? So you mentioned Brubaker. Give us some of your influences. It can be reading. It can be novels, comics, movies, music, anything.
My favorite writer is Jeff Lemire.
Oh, dude, Gideon Falls.
Nice.
Yeah, oh man, so good.
Holy
blew me away, man. Yeah, I absolutely love. Like, I actually only started. I only read Gideon Falls lately enough, and it's just so good. It's just mind blowing. Like, cause I said it like I had another interview with another channel. I was talking to them. I was kind of like, I think like 4 pages or 5 pages into Gideon Falls, I was kind of like, I don't really know if I like this. And then there's just one page where it kind of flicks, and it's just like just this terrifying kind of image. And I was just like, wow, I'm fucking,
I think I know the image you're talking about too.
And I absolutely just love this. Then I just love everything Jeff's done. Like his like Green Arrow number 19 and 20 were like the first comic book I actually just bought myself from a shop. Like I just love those comics, and they're kind of the stories that made me want to kind of. I knew I wanted to be a writer, but like they were the ones that were kind of like, maybe you should give like comics a try, like, because I think you'd like to try that. So I love Jeff's work. I love a lot of like Kelly Sue DeConnick's work.
Oh yeah,
there's like amazing stuff, like Ed Brubaker as well. I would say like their influences in the way that's like, this is how you I don't try to copy their styles, but it's just kind of like, this is how you tell a fucking story like well.
Yeah.
This is how you make good characters. Like, so them, Scott Snyder, American Vampire, as I said, like that was what just like for so long, like that was my favorite horror book by like a mile. Like I've had other ones now, but I just remember being blown away by that. Like,
yeah, that's a great series.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Denis Villeneuve as a director. I've only watched like a handful of Takashi Miike movies, but like Ishi the Killer is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm just massively inspired by that as well. Yeah, as you said, like musicians as well. Like even just, I just like people that are like really creative. Like music I like is like storytelling kind of music. So like that's why like I loved hip hop my whole life, but I find like I'll watch like I'll listen to like trap music and crazy stuff like that when I'm trying to have a good time. But like when I'm just kind of sitting there, when I'm going for a walk and I really need to get, it has to be like narrative driven stuff. Like, so like Kendrick Lamar, I know like Frank Ocean and Tyler the Creator, they kind of do like a lot, like their songs are like stories to like this one long song. And that's why like people are always like, that guy Kanye West is an idiot. Like, how do you still like him? And I'm like, it's just his albums are just so fucking meticulously thought out, like as a storyteller.
Conceptual.
So, yeah, the concept, he has a concept and he just pushes it forward so well. Like, listen to this podcast Dissect, and they dissect like albums.
Okay.
They're going over like Yeezus now, which is an album I don't actually like that much, but I've started to get into more. It's just like they're going through like just even the features on it. It's like he doesn't pick features because he's like, this guy's famous, people are gonna like it. It's like, this guy can represent a side of my character that like I need to like let people know about and stuff. So I've got into Godspeed You Black Emperor lately as well, and kind of Yeah, like just so atmospheric and just like it's just so good for writing.
Yes.
So like,
Oh my God, dude, it's so good for
yeah,
writing. Oh my
yeah, it's
God.
mind blowing. Like, it's just yeah. So kind of musicians like that, like, and I guess it's just artists like that that I really enjoy. Like writers that kind of have their style and they're gonna stick to it and they're gonna they really kind of like think out their stories and you can tell they just really love what they're doing. Like I think that's kind of what matters the most is like when you can just tell that someone absolutely adores like the medium that they're kind of working in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've a lot of inspirations from that, like movies, writing, and music. Like I could be here
That's
all day listening to them all. So I'll just because I still have other ones. I'm like I should mention him, and it's like no, just leave it at that.
no, that's cool. That's cool. I definitely get the like I write as well, so the Godspeed is like
Oh
I guess probably them. And are you familiar with Lustmord at all?
no, but I'm looking for anything that's like that. Like
I'll
I've been
send
looking
you
for anything.
I'll send you his name. He's like an electronic artist, and
Yeah,
he actually just his stuff just takes you
on a trip. Like
somewhere else.
yeah,
Just somewhere fucking else. I don't know. It's not really music, it's more like soundscapey kind of stuff, but it is dark and cosmic. And yeah, I mean, but
yeah.
yeah, and then I love the, like you say, like you like things that are narrative. Like I've always really loved are you into Nick Cave at all?
No, I need to get into him more because I've seen a lot of people suggest that we're like, oh, if you haven't listened to him, give him a listen. Like, so he
I
must
think
like,
you would dig him.
yeah, no, I definitely because I know of him, and I like has he done like film soundtracks before? I
He,
believe like he
yeah,
might have.
actually, he
Yeah,
does a lot of that stuff. But his albums, there's a movie he that was made about him 5 years ago, maybe. I think it's called like 100,000 Days on Earth or something like that. And what
yeah,
you learn from it is every time he starts a new album, every album's kind of like a story. He like gets a new office, and
oh,
like
what?
the office just starts to accumulate all this stuff. And it's like,
All
you
this
know, the
weird
wall
stuff. Yeah,
behind his typewriter are all these pictures, and he's got all these reference materials everywhere or whatever. And then a lot of times he just closes the door and then starts a new office
goes
for the
wild.
next
Yeah,
album.
yeah. I hear like same thing about like Daft Punk did that with the Tron Legacy. They were
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it, and your man was like, "Oh, please do it," and he was like, "Right, right." And they were like, "We have this. We're going to book out this really state of the art place," and they were like, "No, no, no. We want to be like on the set." I'm probably butchering this story, but something like that. Like they want to be on the set or something. So just get us like this small little like closet and just stick all the gear that we need in there, and then just lock the door and leave us alone, and we'll just we'll just make a load of like wild music because they hate like obviously they hate publicity as well. That's why they wear their masks.
Yeah, right, right.
So like they were like no, don't even just hate publicity. They hate like anyone like annoying them. So they're just like let us go into the room and just do our stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I like that kind of stuff as well. Just kind of I don't know if it's because I find it hard to kind of put my work into words, but I like people who struggle to put their things in words. They're just kind of like I'll just let it speak for itself, kind of
Mhm.
whatever
Well,
you
you see the
get out, whatever you
process,
get out.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's been very important to me too. Like uh, one of the biggest like tools I had for a long time, and it's gone now. It's supposed to come back, but you know, the comic writer Warren Ellis, he had a weekly newsletter for years,
yeah.
and it was just a weekly deep dive into just, I mean,
The
it wasn't the
process.
same
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, exactly. And I remember he had guest spots where he'd ask a creator. So he did Lemire, and Lemire always stuck in my head because you saw his like desk and his workspace, and he kind of
yeah.
gave you a legend as to what was there. You know, these books are this and this, blah blah blah. And I just love the process so much. So it was so cool to kind of like see what somebody else is doing, because you know, we're
Yeah.
all just
It's like I
figuring
might.
it
Yeah,
out.
we're all just kind of figuring out as we go along. Yeah, and exactly. Like it's like you might pick something up that might help you out in that kind of way. I think that's kind of what it is like as well. Like it's even when you're reading books on kind of writing and stuff like that. I think like some people take them too literally and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is how this has to be done," and it's like, no, this is just an essay from this writer telling you like this can be done that way if you want. Like the most recent essay book I read was by Benjamin Percy.
Okay.
It was called Trill Me, and it had some good essays in it. Some of it I didn't really, but he had a great essay on kind of violence and kind of like how sometimes just not showing anything can be like so more visceral than like showing a guy getting stabbed in the eye or whatever. So it's kind of
Right.
like but he doesn't mean never show a guy being stabbed in the eye or never show
Right.
never show someone being shot through the head. They're just saying sometimes it's better if you just do it this way, like in The Wire, where they lead, in The Wire, spoilers for a show made in 2002. In the third and fourth, in the third season, a new character shows up called Marlowe, and he kind of becomes the main gangster till the end of the show. And he just will take out anyone who kind of like talks bad about him. And he has two hitmen. One of them's a woman. So he's a hitman and a hit woman who will do all the jobs for him. And they just, like, a couple of times, they just will show up at the end of an episode, and a character will see them, and then you'll just see them walking them towards these like abandoned houses, and you know that they're being killed, but like it doesn't show them getting riddled full of bullets. Like, so it's like sometimes the show just ends with them walking this character away, and you just know this character's never coming back.
Right.
So so I think like that, like, and it's not to be, to talk down to anyone or anything, but a lot of times I see on like writing forums and stuff, people are kind of like, oh, can I do this, or is it right to do this, or this writer said we should only do things like this. It's kind of like it's creative, it's art. Like it's not a maths equation. Like there's not one way to do it. just try it, and if it doesn't work, you'll know when you're reading over if it's shit or not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Just give it a go. So yeah, I love like process stuff, and I do love reading stuff on process, and I have to kind of like try not to read too much on process because there's other things you have to read.
Yeah.
Can't just read just process books. But yeah, I love stuff like that. Ed Brubaker has a newsletter as well.
Yeah.
I think a couple of people have newsletters. Like, it seems like a good way for kind of writers that don't like social media to still kind of keep in contact with people. So
yeah,
I think they're great. Like, if you ever find one, I always try to just subscribe to the email, because if you don't want to read it, it's just another email to your email box anyway.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, is anything else you want to tell people? I'm gonna ask you to send me if you can send me links to everything that you like your website and the
yeah. I'll send
all
you
that,
all
and
that.
I'll put it in the show notes. But just anything you want,
bank account numbers, just shoot them on over.
Yeah. I guess just get out and kind of pick up Osaka Mime, because I am really proud of it. Like,
and it's a fantastic book.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a debut book for, pretty sure, me and Hugo. I think Hugo might have done a anthology before. Rob was the kind of the veteran who had worked on a couple of things. Yeah, so give your local comic book shop a ring, or I think Midtown Comics might still have something to buy online. If not, there should be a second print, and hopefully down the line, but that's Behemoth's decision. It's not mine.
Right.
If not, it's on Comixology as well. I know digital some people don't like digital, but I think it works pretty well in digital, because it's not there's no like 2-page spreads on it or anything. It's kind of just a 1 page each is a story. So pick it up if you can. People from UK and Ireland, it will be in the shops. If this is coming out on Monday, it'll be on the shop this Wednesday, because there was some problems with Diamond. I think that it didn't arrive in the UK or in Ireland, so it should be this week that it's arriving.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm just kind of working on other projects that aren't really, keep an eye out for them. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you like people posting nonsense, but also sometimes posting about writing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's where you can find me. That's where I'll be I know people say don't talk about your projects while they're being made, and because they might not get finished, but I'm always talking about my projects. Like,
That's cool.
I just love talking about them. Like, so I'll just be tweeting like, this chapter is fucking shit, I need to work on this or whatever.
Well, awesome. Dude, I again, thank you so much for joining us, Andy, and congratulations on the book. I just really want people to read it, because I was blown away by it. I didn't even, I had no expectations, and I just loved it. So that's always such a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I hope people will feel the same. I think like it's not no stories for everyone, so it's probably not going to be for everyone. But I think like if you are a horror fan, like, or a fan of like buddy cop kind of stuff, it's going to be up your alley. Even if you're a fan of fantasy, I think you'll appreciate kind of the fantasy elements to it. And thanks for having me on. I've listened to a couple of episodes of this podcast, so I'm a fan of it. So it was nice to come on.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you. So have a good rest of your weekend, sir. And
you too.
Thanks, all right, man. Take care.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to A Most Horrible Library. We'll be back next week to talk about more bloody, gory, spooky things.
Yeah.
So-
Chris, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, I get around. Most of my handles, a lot of places, is Chris Saunders 666. Instagram, you can find me at Saunders 138.
Well, you also primarily helm the Most Horrible Library Instagram, right?
I do.
So that's A Most Horrible Library. If you just Google that, or I mean, Instagram search that, you'll find it. I am regularly on the Horror Vision, which is our sister podcast. I'm regularly on the Horror Vision Twitter, which is, it's tricky because there's another Horror Vision podcast out there, and they came into existence about a year after we did.
Stop giving those copycats any publicity, Sean.
That's fine. We all love the same things. But you can find me at either Horror Vision Pod. It's actually at Horror Vision P, I guess. I don't know. And then my regular Twitter handle is Opinionated Bastard. But
that you are, my friend.
I am. You have to drop the A, I think, from both words, and that's how you find me there. I know it's so convoluted. That didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to. But yeah, just, you know what, thehorrorvision.com, all the stuff goes there. The Horror Vision has a YouTube channel, and yeah, I mean, we're always looking to talk to people. So hit us up, tell us what you want us to read, tell us, you know, anything. We've got another scratch that, I'll edit that out. So yeah, so we'll be back next week with more.